afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The May 28th meeting of the Palm Springs Planning Commission is now in session. Report of agendas posting, Mr. Evans, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The agenda was posted here at City Hall in accordance with state and local procedures.
Thank you. The first item is the approval of the minutes from April 30th, and if I'm correct, that has to do with the limited quorum meeting. Why don't we, instead of all of us getting up and leaving, let's just move that over and do that when we hit agenda item number 9, unless the 4 of you at the end are planning on leaving? No. Okay, we'll move that down. Next item then is public comments. Anybody wishing to address the commission on planning issues in the city of Palm Springs, please come forward at this time. If you're here on a public hearing item or any of the other agenda items, we'd prefer that you hold your comments until that time. If you would rather speak now, you may do so.
Public hearing on the airport will be a little further.
You'll have an opportunity to speak at that time, sir. All right, seeing none, we'll move down on the agenda. Our public hearing items are calendared and agendaed to commence at 2 o'clock. So we'll move down. And actually, the first item we come to is item number 9, and this has the limited quorum. We need to state our conflicts for the 3 of us that have conflicts. This is concerning the Palm Springs Convention Center. Item number 9, it'll also deal with the approval of the minutes for April 30th, 2003, which was a meeting that dealt solely with the Palm Springs Convention Center. I have a conflict of interest because I represent a business client, a neighboring real property owner. Mr. Caffrey?
I have business conflict because my office is located nearby the convention center.
Mr. Sherman?
I have a conflict also because my office is located nearby.
Very good. Are there any other conflicts? Mr. Granch, I think you have one, but you drew straws, but it'll allow you to stay.
Right. I had a conflict because I manage property adjacent to the convention center, but I did draw the straw so that I'm there to make the quorum, but I can't vote.
Very good. So I'll turn this over to Mr. Matthews to
Okay.
chair the meeting. And the 3
Thank you,
of us
Mr.
have to leave the
Chairman.
podium.
At this point, let's approve the minutes of the April 30th meeting unless there's additions.
So moved.
Is there a Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And one abstention.
Item 9.
Mr. Chairman, this is a follow-up item relative to the convention center and looking at some of the documents we discussed with the city attorney, the need to have the Planning Commission make a finding that the expansion of the convention center is consistent with the city's general plan. It is, and you have a resolution that we would recommend that the Planning Commission consider adopting. That completes our report.
Okay, any questions of the staff from any of the commissioners? Motions?
This is what we're doing. Okay,
Let's do it.
based upon the review of the city ordinances, city policy, and information provided by the design teams, I am determining that the development and construction of the Palm Springs Convention Center located at 277 Avenida Caballeros is consistent with the city's general plan or part thereof. Second.
There's a second. Okay, any discussion? Just for the record, this is an item that's been the subject of much discussion in a special meeting, and so what appears to be somewhat perfunctory has had quite a bit of review by the Planning Commission and certainly this group. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Well, we can welcome the real chairman back now.
He's probably gone away thinking it's a long thing.
You know, I run a pretty tight meeting. Yes. Yeah, it's.
We don't mess around.
There's trees.
There's trees, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. You were very prompt. Next item then is Commission Work Program. Mr. Evans.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of items. You had talked at your last meeting about the appointment of 2 Planning Commission volunteers to the steering committee for the general plan update. And you decided to wait for the full complement of commissioners. So that's going to be probably a 2-year assignment. We'll probably meet fairly quickly in the front end of the 2 years with a series of meetings, and then we'll probably give you some time off, and in the middle part, we'll have a series of meetings, and towards the end, we don't expect it to be routine and regular all the way through the 2-year period. There's going to be some start and stops relative to consulting work.
All right, well, John and I are going to be gone, so the 5 of you. Jerry, you'd like to do that? Anybody else? John Schoenberger? Okay, so we have John Schoenberger and Jerry Grinch.
And,
Jerry and John, did you get that?
yes, sir.
What else do we have under
Mr.
commission work
Chairman, I
program?
just put down on the list the Tahquitz Creek Resort Subcommittee. Just as a reminder, you appointed 2 planning commissioners, Mr. Grintz and Mr. Matthews. To that, we wanted to confirm that they'll have the time to have several meetings.
Read the documents already.
Okay. All right. And in all likelihood, John Raymond may call you relative to meetings, and I don't suspect this is going to be a lot of meetings. Fairly straightforward project, and I think one that be really well received in the community.
I see on here you have section 14 master plan.
No update at this time. We're preparing staff reports, resolutions, and various documents for your upcoming public hearing.
All right. What about, let's see, the council cabinet is not there. I guess we come up to city council actions update.
Mr. Chairman, a brief report today. The small bed and breakfast and gallery project up on North Palm Canyon Drive was approved by the council last Wednesday evening. The applicant was in attendance and was quite pleased with the outcome. After the meeting, they indicated that while the pricing's coming in a little bit higher than they had hoped, they still plan on going forward. They had their contractor in the audience with them, so it looks like it's going to move forward. They did provide some information relative to some of the commissioners' concerns regarding the manager's area for front desk relative to the bed and breakfast. And there are mini kitchens in all of the units, up to full kitchens in the larger unit, the manager's unit. And the owners intend on being on site quite often. Their intent is to be very active and become not quite full-time residents, but very active residents in that area. Mr. Chairman, that completes the update from last week's council meeting, and the update on tonight's meeting is the meeting has been canceled due to a lack of quorum.
All right.
So if I smile a little bit tonight, it's because I've got the night off.
Congratulations, well deserved. Commission staff reports requests. Why don't you just continue on if you have anything to report back?
Well, a couple of items. You've got the building activity report that the building department puts out. And just to give you a very quick update, last year at this time of the year, we had done $54 million worth of construction activity. And for the public's information, that includes new development, additions, remodels, and demolitions, and it's based upon permit valuation. And we had $54 million last year. We're having a pretty good year. We're at $71.6 million this year. And I can tell you that, we had 79 new single-family homes this year versus 70 last year, and the permit valuation with 9 new homes or additional homes is almost $5 million more, which means each home that was built has a permit valuation that's higher than last year, which is a real good indicator on single-family homes. that the value is going up. And we did, have an apartment complex on East Palm Canyon Drive at Araby. That was roughly an $8 million or $7 million permit. It's listed as 11 permits, but they broke it down into 11 different permits. It's one primary project. And then this year we had 4 permits issued for condominium projects at $4 million. It's a little bit down from last year of $7.3 million. And as the commission knows, it's really tough to build condominiums. We're very lucky we have some developers that have figured out how to deal with construction defect law and the challenges of doing that type of construction in California. It's almost closed the condominium market statewide. And we have a few developers in town that have figured out how to do it, and they unfortunately pay dearly in insurance premiums to be able to do that. And as I always say when I do an update, El Nino and our wet season continues to keep the roofing business very busy. We issued for the year $4.3 million worth of re-roofing permits. And El Nino and any amount of rain always triggers, and that's up over last year. So the roofers have done pretty good, it appears. Mr. Chairman, that's an update on the construction activity as of May 14th this year.
Great. Are there any questions concerning the report? I had just a couple, Mr. Evans. I note for commercial new activity, we had an increase of $9 million over last year. Was that one particular large project, or can you give us an idea what that big increase was about?
You're going to stump me today. It'll come to me in a minute.
How about the public additions and alterations? We have a 2.2 million, where the prior year we had 15,000. What is that, a city project, or?
Yeah, if it's a public project, it's a city project. That was probably the airport.
Okay, that would be listed as.
Yeah, so it's listed there also.
All right. Hey,
Yeah,
Tyler?
Ralph's. There you go. It's that little new project. Thank you very much.
That little one, very good.
The one we've been talking about in the signs, but, that's a $10 million construction valuation is, Vaughn's and Ralph's. And we still have, all the satellite pads to go, and Carl's Jr. is just about ready for permit. I think we've released it, and it's sitting ready for issuance. And the rest of the buildings are right behind it. It's going to be kind of neat. It's going to be a turnkey, 100% completed shopping center in one continuous phase. We're not going to have pads sitting out there for years. I think it really indicates what a good location it is and why the developer hung in there so long.
Very good. Okay, so audience, you can't figure out, we are padding for time a little bit. We have a very limited, kind of an unusual agenda. All our matters are public hearing items, and we're not allowed to commence those until 2 o'clock. So we're just kind of padding here a little bit. We move down to under commission staff reports. Any requests from the commission? Yes, Ms. Brantz.
Yeah, I have a couple of items. First of all, under the weekly, in the weekly submittals, I noticed that the Wyndham Hotel has applied to remove the fountain at their courtyard. And I kind of was disappointed to hear that. I wondered if,
Can I tell you where it is?
yeah,
If you never went in the Wyndham Hotel, you'd never know they changed it. They're redoing their interior atrium, so it's inside the building. The only changes they're doing to the exterior is they're adding a outside bar extension from their main lobby bar, and they're redoing the windows and the interior space. When you open the front door, you will see all the way through to the pool. Right now, you see through to a fountain as well as other lobby bar activities. What they're really trying to do is open it up. And they're, so almost all of that is interior. They're going to put in a barbecue, cooking facility, outdoor cooking facility in the pool area, some cabanas. So this is the type of renovation at a hotel that typically we work with them at staff level on. And I've gone out and pre-sited it, so it's not the front fountain.
all right.
And they're trying to get this ready for the shopping center conference coming up. This is one of the best pieces of business, and it's probably one of the best pieces of business we have in the city. When the shopping center conference people come to town for their regional meeting, and they signed a 2-year contract with Wyndham. which
Okay.
is very unusual.
Thank you. I have one other item, Mr. Chairman. Might want to send somebody out to the Sun Center. They've added underneath their monument sign, they've painted the name of a business on their monument sign, and also a new furniture store has moved in there, and they've put a couch on the roof and covered it with white paper and wrote furniture on it, and it's lit at night. And I'd really like to see it gone. That's all.
Gosh, I guess that staff approval backfired, huh?
Well, I don't even know if it's a couch, but it's something that looks like that, and it says furniture, and it's lit. That's it.
Anybody else? Doug, I had a question. Could you give us an update on skate park? Where does the city stand on that and contracts and things?
The city awarded the contract last Wednesday evening to the contractor, and we rebid portions of it relative to the pool, and got news today that by rebidding, we saved $100,000. A lot of hard work from the gentleman sitting to my left, Marcus. So the skate park is back on track, and it's my understanding the contractor will mobilize and start construction in 30 to 45 days, somewhere around there, and should be open in October. And I can tell you that the engineering department and Marcus took a real lead, really pulled one together when we realized we had to delete the new building, work around the existing site plan that's out there, and made the project fit without having to completely redesign the actual skate park. A lot of hard work on behalf of Marcus and Dave Barakian.
Very good. And one other public or city project is the visitor center. Can you give us an update on that?
The design team has had their actual design contract let, so they're working on that. It's going to be a little bit different project. I think you've seen an update and you saw it your first time, but you did, I think you had a progress report. They're going to really keep the existing site free of parking for now. The Nichols Family Trust has agreed to let the city use the adjoining property for a temporary parking lot, which will accommodate a lot more cars and better maneuvering. And they're in the design process, and their first and foremost concern is the temporary parking lot and interior tenant improvements, so we can get this thing open in October. So it's going to be a rush, and we'll bring you the plans as they're ready.
Very good. Thank you. Well, it's now 2 o'clock then, and we'll go to our public hearing items. The first is agenda item number 2, and the applicant is asked that we hold that off until 3 o'clock. So that they'll be able to have a full presentation. So we'll move on down to case number 3, which is 5.0955, application by KFC Corporation for conditional use permit and architectural approval for a drive-through restaurant located at 725 South Palm Canyon Drive. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to try to fill in for Kathy Marks, who has been the planner on this project. Kathy is taking a well-deserved vacation, and she's on her way to Madrid to visit her daughter, who's graduating from a university over there. So I'll do my best to go through the project. This is a project that you've seen a couple of times in workshop format. We've had a neighborhood meeting. In one of your workshops, we invited people from the historic tennis club area to come and take a look at the plans and the progress. As the commission recalls, the project's on South Palm Canyon Drive at Sunny Dunes. Involves the demolition of 3 buildings on site, with KFC being the corner building. The construction of a quick serve restaurant for KFC, as well as A&W Root Beer. and All American Foods, I think, if I get the sign all right. The project, they would have basically the two flags inside one building, which is the way that they're marketing this type of project in the future, and we'll probably see more of it. You've seen it at Carl's Jr. with Green Burrito, at Sunrise and Ramon. It has a drive-through facility that takes its drive-through pattern through here. Off of Sunny Dunes, you would loop around here or come back through here and back in off of South Palm Canyon Drive. The building's situated in a fashion where it's up near the corner with an outdoor patio, with a wall. They're going to redo and remove the stairs up the front so that they're not adjacent to the bus bench and bus stop area. The landscape plan, we are working with them to combine these two islands probably into this area and create a fairly small outdoor eating area so that when the weather cooperates and there's a little bit of water in the creek, you can actually have a creekside meal and hear gurgling water in the desert. And on really wet years, sometimes it will flow into July. Other years, you might not see any. But, something that we've talked to them and design review about of having that opportunity. The building is a contemporary type design with some elements that meet the KFC criteria. As the commission recalls, the street elevation is located here with a tower element. I think we've added recommendations per commission comments in your study session into the recommendations, so that I think most of the issues are already addressed. It is a public hearing item. You have a written staff report. The KFC team has worked really well with staff from their project management, corporate people, to construction management team, as well as their architects, and it's really been a pleasure to work with a team that comes to a meeting, listens, and they come back with good solutions. On almost every case, they've been able to do that. The project, I think, has one primary issue that the applicant's going to probably address, is there's an existing utility line that comes through here, and according to city ordinance, they're required to underground it. It would not be a feasible project to do just for this project because of intersecting lines and really the size of the project. It's less than 300 feet, and that's kind of the break-even point for cost effectiveness for undergrounding of utilities. So we're recommending that the commission consider allowing them to enter into a covenant. That's a little bit of a concern because the KFC group is a tenant. They don't own the land, and they're not really sure that the property owner is going to be comfortable with a long-term commitment. The ordinance really doesn't provide for waiving or deleting that requirement, and we do recommend the covenant. I've been in situations with multiple property owners where they have leased the property and they've been uncomfortable at this stage with undergrounding covenants, and we haven't lost a project yet. The likelihood that we come in and do an undergrounding project in the near-term future is relatively low. The only way I would see this type of project going forward is if we did an overall undergrounding project that included multiple properties, and the only way to do that normally is to use what's called Rule 20A monies that everybody contributes to when you pay your electric bill, goes into a pool of money for undergrounding, and the city's leveraged our Rule 20A monies out for I think another 8 or 9 years, and typically we do projects on East Palm Canyon Drive, Ramon Road, very large utility undergrounding projects. So I don't see it in the near-term future, but I can't predict it. Something could happen in this neighborhood where the city council wants to go forward with an undergrounding project, but I really don't see it. There's a whole bunch of priority areas, and I don't even think this one's been discussed on priority list yet. Mr. Chairman, that completes the report. I'll certainly try to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Are there any questions of Mr. Evans before we open the public hearing? Ms. Brands?
I had one question. Mr. Evans, tell me how far the utility lines run now. west. Do they extend all the way up Sunny Dunes?
The utility line goes up to Bellardo Road
Goes-
and then, I believe goes east and west,
Okay, but it.
or
there-
north and south.
There
excuse me.
would be a project, there's a project under construction now at Bellardo and Sunny Dunes, so I would assume that the power lines aren't there. They've already been undergrounded, or are they somewhere else?
My recollection is that street frontage has utility lines that run north and south on the west side of Bellardo. I'd have to double check it, but that's
I don't
my,
remember either, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure they have to underground them. I'd have to double check to verify.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing matter. Anybody wishing to address the commission, please come forward at this time. Give us your name and sign the clipboard before you leave. All right, seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing. Back to commissioners for questions, comments. Mr. Matthews?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move approval of conditional use permit 5.0955.
Motion by Mr. Matthews, second by Mr. Grinch.
Do we need something on the utility line?
Yeah, I think that's in
It would be, I think, the way the conditions are written, if you could just mention in your motion that you defer them by covenant, if that's the preference of the applicant, from the standpoint of either doing that or undergrounding or posting a bond.
Can you point out which condition that is? Maybe just take a moment and find it for us.
Number 25 on the second to the last page.
In the last paragraph where it says, if the utility undergrounding is deferred in accordance with specific direction by the planning commission and/or the city council, the public record, the record property owner shall enter into a covenant, et cetera, et cetera.
So do we need to add to the motion, or is that in the
You
condition?
need to state that your motion would provide for
The specific direction.
deferral of that in accordance with the
Okay.
provisions set forth.
I'd like to include that in my motion then.
And you too, Mr. Grinch? All right. Any further comments or questions? Roll call vote, please, Michelle.
Ms. Conrad? Aye. Ms. Morantz?
Aye.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mr. Grinch?
Aye.
Mr. Schoenberger?
Aye.
Mr. Caffrey?
Aye.
Mr. Klatchko?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. Just for the public's knowledge, we have seen this several times in study session and are very familiar with it, and we do have a complete written report as well. That's why there was a fairly brief discussion today. All right, next item on the agenda is number 4, case 5.0945, application by Lurish Properties for conditional use permit to construct a 14,350 square foot drugstore and pharmacy with 2-lane drive-through and an additional 21,850 square foot of commercial lease space at 101 Sunrise Way North. And we have an indication here that the applicant wants to remove it from the agenda, Mr. Evans?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant has requested that this item be withdrawn from the agenda, but they're not withdrawing the application. I want to make that clear in the record. Put the application on hold, and in recognition that the city's obligated to move projects forward, they are in writing waiving any protest or challenges based upon the Permit Streamlining Act, which, basically says the city has a specified period of time to make a decision on a project. They're taking a look at their tenant alignment, and they'd like some time to work that out before they go forward. We would have to renotice this one and bring it back to you. That completes our staff report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so with it removed from the agenda, we do not have to open the public hearing, is that correct?
No, you do not, sir.
So number 4 is removed. Move to 5, which is case 5.0960, application by Irene James for a conditional use permit to construct 210 square foot addition to an existing guest house, increasing the total square footage to greater than 1/50th of the lot area. Property is located at 855 North Hermosa Drive. Staff report, please.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I think I'm going to excuse myself from this, as I used to own the property next door for about 5 years, and I still live about a block and a half away.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Conrad.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an application by Irene James for a guest house. Just to clarify where this is, it's on Hermosa Drive. Tamarisk Road is to the south on this side, and El Alameda is that way. And this is actually a 30,000 square foot lot. Previously was 2 lots, so it is a pretty large lot. In terms of, just to give you a bit of background on this, if you can see in the photos here, some of the construction has started, so it was red tagged by our building department previously, and the applicant came in, for the conditional use permit for this guest house. Existing on the lot is a 1,927 square foot single-family residence, and an existing 500 square foot guest house that was legally permitted. Per our zoning code, you are allowed to have up to 1/50th a guest house up to 1/50th of the lot area. So with a 500 square foot guest house, that was fine. The applicant then proceeded to start to enclose the 210 square foot patio behind the guest house, and that's why the conditional use permit is required. In terms of the setbacks, it meets all the setbacks of the zone, which is the single-family residential zone, R1C, and the height would be about 8 feet. Otherwise, it certainly meets all the requirements for a guest house in an R1C zone, in that the lot is greater than 15,000 square feet. And the applicant is here today to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jean. Any questions of staff before we open the public hearing? This is, again, a public hearing item. Anybody wishing to address the commission on this matter, please come forward. Please come to the podium, give us your name, and before you leave, sign the clipboard. Ma'am, the podium there at the ground floor. Yes, to your left, there's a speaker, microphone. Yes.
What would you like to know?
Please, first give us your name, and then you
Irene
may say
James.
anything you like.
My name is Irene James.
You're
I
the
live at
applicant.
855 North Hermosa Drive.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us, or are you just here to answer questions?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Is there anything you'd like to relate to us, or do you just want to be available to answer questions?
I'm here to answer any question you'd like.
All right. Well, why don't you have a seat for a second? After we close the public hearing, there may
All
be
right.
some questions.
All right, sir.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this matter? Okay, we will close the public hearing then. Back to commissioners.
Go ahead. Make a motion.
I'm ready. Mr. Chairman, I'd move approval of case 5.0960, the conditional use permit.
Motion by Mr. Matthews. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Schoenberger. Any further comments? Roll call vote then, please, Michelle.
Ms. Morantz?
Aye.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mr. Grinch?
Aye.
Mr. Schoenberger?
Aye.
Mr. Caffrey?
No.
Mr. Klatchko?
Aye. Motion carries 5-1 with 1 abstention. So you didn't have to answer any questions at all.
You done?
Larry, can I impose on you to invite Ms. Conrad back in, or one of you? Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Right, the next item on the agenda is number 6, case 5.0438, the initiation by the City of Palm Springs for Palm Springs International Airport Master Plan Update and Mitigated Declaration. It's located at 3400 East Tahquitz Canyon Way. Staff report, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, Tonight you have before you the master plan update. Staff is recommending approval. We're also recommending that the Planning Commission authorize City Council to file a negative declaration. As you are aware, the mitigated negative declaration includes measures carried over from the 1994 EIR, EIS for the master plan update back then. So I also have tonight here to assist with the presentation Al Smoot, the Director of Aviation, as well as Steve Benson, I believe, from Kaufman Associates. So he'll fill in from here on out, and then we'll be happy to answer questions.
All right.
Thank you, Larry. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it's indeed a pleasure to be here this afternoon, a lot earlier than I anticipated. What we have before you today is a 3-year planning effort that we hoped to have had to you about a year ago. However, because of the effects of 9/11, we had to back up and look at some security measures before we could bring it forward. This particular program is an update to our master plan that looks at the next 20 years. And in that, we're projecting that our just under 600,000 emplaned passengers in 2001 will eventually grow to about over double that to 1.3 million in the 20-year planning horizon. We're projecting that the projects that we will need to construct over the next 20 years will total somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 million. Hopefully, over 80 million of that will come from federal grants. What I'd like to do is spend a couple of minutes to walk you through the key projects. I think what's most notable about this particular master plan update, it's not like the last one we did, which had a runway extension in it and a huge terminal building expansion. It's basically a maintenance of effort on our part to keep our plan moving forward. So what I'd like to do is go up to those drawings and just walk you through a couple of things. And then after that, I'll ask Steve Benson to talk to you a little bit about the environmental documentation.
Very good. Why don't you go ahead and do that, and I would ask that you use the portable microphone as you speak.
Thanks. In the document that's being passed across, I think you've seen that before, it's the executive summary of the master plan, but if you look at that center diagram, it'll be easier for you to follow along with what I'm talking about since these are a little bit far away from you. Primarily, this plan is broken into 3 horizons. The short-term horizon, which is generally the first 5 years of the plan, and quite frankly, the first 1.5 years of that time frame has already gone by, and several of the projects have been completed or under construction. Then it's the midterm or the intermediate planning horizon, which is the next 5 years, and then the long-term planning horizon, which is 10 to 20 years out. And we will have updated the plan at least once more by then, probably twice more, as we're supposed to do this every 5 to 7 years according to the federal requirements. In the short-term horizon, some of the key projects have to do with the rental car lot and the changing of its configuration, which occurred this last summer, or last winter, excuse me. The roadway work, which is underway right now, and then it goes into some additional work of straightening the terminal road right in front of the building, doing some enhancements to the terminal building itself and expanding that lobby. All of those projects will begin the design here in the next few months. And then we talk about some taxiway improvements that will allow aircraft to get off of the runway sooner and travel shorter distances to the terminal, which reduce noise and air pollution and allow for them to move quicker through the facility. And we're also looking at the possibility on the northeast side of the airport, some improvements that would allow for some additional general aviation aircraft to be hangared. And that's primarily the key features of the short-term plan. As we get into the midterm horizon, we continue to look at some expansion of the ready facilities for rental cars. We're one of the last airports in the country where you can walk out the back door and get in your rental car and drive away. And our long-term plan is to continue to develop that to the north of the terminal building. And we have access to property that's currently used by Signature Flight to expand that on. Additionally, we're looking at a couple of expansions to the terminal in the ticketing wing and baggage claim in that horizon, as well as the possibility of a parking structure in the front portion of the terminal building. On the airfield, again, there's a couple of small taxiways that are constructed. This particular northeast area, I'd like to point out, is property that we do not currently own. It's owned by a tribal member, and if we are able to successfully, through a friendly negotiation, acquire that property, we will do so. However, our plan very specifically states that we will not condemn that property. If we were to acquire it, it would be used for some type of aviation purposes, possibly some industrial purposes in that area. And I think when we get to the environmental, we'll also talk about a concern of the fringe-toed lizard up there, and that we would mitigate that at that time if we actually acquired the property. Again, no major changes to the airfield. In the long-term horizon, which is really more of a wish list of projects that will be looked at again in the next update of the master plan, we talk about a couple of more high-speed taxiways, again, to allow the aircraft to get off the runway quicker. Additional one in this location, the possibility of some more general aviation up in the northeast area, and at that point, a possible expansion of the parking garage in front of the terminal building, and actually expansion of the terminal building to allow for additional gates at that point. That's kind of a summary of the plan as it sits in its draft phase. And with that, I'll let Steve come to the microphone and talk a little bit about environmental, and then be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al. I'm Steve Benson with Kaufman Associates, and I served as project manager for the master plan and for the initial study on the master plan for the airport. With the previous master plan, of course, a full EIR and environmental assessment were prepared. As Mr. Smoot said, there was a major runway extension, and the terminal facilities, expansion of terminal facilities were probably the main things driving that. This master plan carries forth a lot of the same recommendations. It's not a very dramatic change from the previous master plan. If anything, there's a little bit of tweaking that went on as you look at updating a master plan. As Mr. Smoot said, every 5 to 7 years there are some modifications that might be done to better fit basically the way the airport is headed, or the way the aviation industry is headed in that period. So because of that, we've conducted an initial study first, which was put forward and reviewed through the planning department, and has been circulated to the various agencies. And I won't get into all the little details on that, but we did receive some comments from some of the various agencies regarding that. For one, from the Desert Water Agency, for example, they indicated concerns, of course, for long-term overdraft of water, and so they wish to continue discussions for water-efficient landscape themes at the airport, which is also the intent of the airport, to continue to look at that as they go forward with things in design. Southern California Edison just had some basic considerations that when there's any relocations involved with some of their lines, what would be involved with that. That's what they had in their correspondence. Of course, that will continue to be a consideration with the master plan to make sure that there's no impact on them for that. Basically, if the project requires relocation, that relocation will be done within the cost of the project. Another concern was with the U.S. Department of Interior, particularly the Fish and Wildlife Service, which with the previous master plan, of course, the endangered species that were concerned with the previous environmental work involved the fringe-toed lizard and the Coachella Valley milk vetch. Of course, there still remains some concern, particularly up in that northeastern area, which Mr. Smoot discussed as being property that potentially could be acquired in the future, or if it cannot be acquired under negotiations, would not be acquired. So what's being looked at there is such time as there's any areas that haven't already been considered involved in the previous EIR, they will be looked at as far as a need for survey, particularly for those two endangered species. So basically looking at that area as part of the due diligence before it would essentially be acquired and then developed at that point in time. The other concern was primarily with the involved air quality with the South Coast Air Quality Management District. Theirs was basically needing some clarification on the projects that were not included in the EIR. We corresponded with them involving that, provided them the previous air quality analysis that was done within the previous EIR, and discussed how the changes that are involved basically with this master plan are minor in its relation to how it's going to affect traffic involved with the airport, and particularly in some cases may actually involve a decrease in the potential impacts to air quality from what was considered with the previous EIR. And finally, the other consideration was from the Director of Public Works, who was involved in the preliminary review of this. Several of his comments were addressed as we prepared the initial study to the point to where it is now. Some of those involve primarily the storm drain master plan, or basically drainage, and the storm drain master plan for the airport will continue to be revised as necessary to meet the various projects undertaken as it has been in the past. And the other concern was the traffic at Farrell Drive and Vista Chino. An additional traffic study was done as part of the initial study, looking at some of the traffic concerns, and it was found that there would be a negligible impact to traffic at that intersection, less than a 1% change in the traffic associated with the airport for that intersection. So that's basically a brief rundown on the considerations that we received in some of the correspondence involved in the initial study. Turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. There may be some questions, but why don't we hold off on those questions and go ahead and open the public hearing and see if there's any public comment. With that, I'll invite anybody wishing to address the commission on this matter to come forward at this time. Please give us your name, and before you leave, sign the clipboard.
My name is Ron Iamele, 420 Potencio Lane, Palm Springs, President, Premier Security on Bellardo in Palm Springs. I have copies of a prepared comment that I'd like to hand to the clerk for distribution, if you could. And I'd like to read this prepared comment. I take this opportunity to present to the members of the Planning Commission, City Council, and other officials an issue that seems to become more prevalent in Palm Springs with the passage of time. I speak of the city's apparent desire to exclude local contractors from city contracting. This can be seen with respect to the Palm Springs International Airport. Over the past 8 years, through huge efforts on our part to show the city that we would not retreat, we have participated in a few small procurements. While we appreciate these few, much greater opportunities have passed or have never been offered to local contractors. The worst of these cases relates to the airport. Over the years, we have made ourselves available through letters, phone calls, and to the City Council for camera security and access control at the airport. No response has ever come from any of these communications. When Mosler, the airport security contractor, went out of business several years ago, no bid process was offered. Pinkerton Systems was given this contract, and to our knowledge, remains the airport security contractor. The reason for this, given to the public, seems to be the national heightened security of airports after 9/11. If national security is an issue, how is a company owned by foreign interest receive sole source preference? Pinkerton is owned by Securitas, a Swedish company. Premier Security is a local company that has passed extensive background investigations for national defense establishments. We have every capability to do the same electronic security work as Pinkerton, yet we were never offered an opportunity to compete on a level playing field. Recently, we attempted to participate in the procurement for the new airport security entrance plaza. It appeared that there was security camera and access control work there. Yet after spending much time, energy, and money, we were told that these things would be handled by the current security contractor. Even the downtown camera project, a failure both technically and as a procurement, pales in comparison to the airport in its disregard for fair procurement practices that in federal procurement would be found unwise if not unethical. In closing, I must strongly protest the current policy and advise the Planning Commission, City Council, City Manager, Director of Airports to correct these policies at the airport, whether the master plan is at issue or not. Further procurement policies for all city contracts should be reviewed for open bid procedures that include local contractors, service providers, and vendors. We will be happy to provide assistance in offering corrective actions. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Armelli. Is anybody else that wishes to address the commission on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Back to commissioners for questions, comments. Mr. Schoenberger.
A couple of questions, Al. I guess I'm a little bit curious. If the airport thought it needed that property up to the northeast, why has it ruled out condemnation?
Because the 3/4 of the property that the airport currently holds was condemned from members of the Agua Caliente tribe at one time or another. Our most recent condemnation activity was conducted when we had to change the alignment of Farrell Road, or Farrell Drive. And at that point in our discussions with the tribe, we made a commitment that we would not be condemning additional acreage from them. And so that's why it's carried forward in here.
All right, so that goes back to a past commitment that was made.
That's correct.
The other comment I have, again, is on the sore point with me, and that is the El Cielo Ramon extension. And when we talked about this at our study session a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I could see no reason why we couldn't have a eastbound traffic lane as part of that road improvement work. And at that time, you said the FAA wouldn't allow it. And I got to thinking about that after the meeting, and I couldn't figure out why the FAA could possibly care if there was an extra lane of traffic there to relieve the congestion that we all see on Ramon Road all the time, every day. And so I was just wondering if, just so I'll stop thinking about this. Why does the FAA care if there is a lane of traffic there that would allow there to be traffic both ways on that extension?
I'll try to answer that. I did follow up with a memo after your last meeting to try to explain some of the things. The major reason is when we went through the design effort to try to find a way, and we went through many different efforts to try to find a way to do that, there were two ways in which to get an eastbound roadway connecting to, or westbound, excuse me, connecting to El Cielo. And that was build an overpass on the airport property at the tune of about $20 million. And the city of Palm Springs could pay for that. That was quickly ruled out. And secondly, would be to provide the eastbound or the westbound roadway in a different location, which would take it across some of the property that is directly south of the current roadway, and run it through there and bring it out south of the taxi building. And in doing so, that, where I'm saying the FAA would not approve it, is that property, that roadway would be cutting right through the middle of developable property for the airport and would have no use for the airport. And the FAA is very stringent. As a matter of fact, we just got the absolute no on the sale of the school district property from the FAA yesterday, that we may not use that property for anything that does not benefit the airport. And that roadway would not benefit the airport. And so there's no way to put it in there. And that's what it's based upon. Unfortunately, the FAA does not care about what happens as far as shortcuts through the airport.
Well, not just a shortcut for the airport. It seems to me that that road is also that lane of traffic would be a matter of convenience. I mean, it's not be a matter of convenience both for people going to and coming from the airport. Wouldn't people who are wouldn't that provide some a useful traffic lane for people using the airport as well as using it for other purposes?
I don't believe so, because anybody coming westbound can get on the airport right in that location anyway by coming simply to Tahquitz. And, I don't know how I can say we've exhausted looking at this thing inside and out. We had a direct benefit in the very beginning to want to have it two-way through there, because it would make our property much more valuable to have that two-way road go through there. We could get other types of development that would never agree to just develop on a property that's only accessing the airport. We couldn't get to that point. We can't meet the test of saying that that eastbound roadway will not interfere with the future development of the airport for airport purposes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, since it sticks in my crowd too, can I just ask you one other question, Mr. Smoot?
Absolutely.
I see that particular area that Mr. Schoenberger is talking about is in the bright blue, so it's in a short-term project, and it looks to me like it's additional or overflow parking. Is that correct?
That will be eventually developed. At this point, the parking portion of it's not being developed in that area.
Okay, but it's colored in blue like it's a short-term project. So, and there's no color on it anywhere that looks like it's got any long-range plans for it. Is that true?
The area in blue will be developed as parking. The area that's to the east of that has the letter RC on it. That particular area is going to be developed for some airport use in the future. It belongs to the airport. We cannot just simply use it for something else.
Right, but I'm looking at the area that's terminal area. It's underneath a TA, and it's colored in blue, so it's a short-term project, and it looks like it's parking to me. And are those improvements going to go in as part of this short-term?
As part of this project that's underway right now, no. As part of in the short-term horizon, the first 5 years of planning, yes.
And then what's planned for that? So what's planned for that area for the long-term horizon? Like, why can't it be added to the long-term horizon that roadway could have been expanded? I mean, if it's just going to be paved surface and additional parking, why couldn't the road, instead of segueing all the way through that property and dividing it, which I completely understand, just be made one lane of traffic wider as a long-term priority?
The only way that could be done would be to run it over along the property line as that road is shown there.
Why can't it be right where it is now?
Because there is no way to physically run that traffic through there without going over the top of it, without putting in traffic signals and stopping the free flow of traffic on the airport roadway. And that's absolutely counter to all the planning criteria that we're given for developing an airport roadway.
So when you're going westbound, you can't just turn right and go into the airport through the security process, and you couldn't continue going straight unless you go up and over?
That's correct.
Because you're using that current lane of traffic now for traffic that's looping in from Tahquitz.
That is correct. If we chose to close Tahquitz entrance, which the city council ruled out many months ago, we could have done that.
I think that's a bad idea too, but I still don't understand, and I guess you and me, Mr. Schoenberger, are never going to forgive ourselves.
I can't understand why that road you're building there couldn't be made one lane wider and it would work. And obviously there's something about the way the road's laid out when it's finished that I don't grasp. But it just, I wish somebody could explain it to me so I could just get over this. But it just doesn't seem to me, I can't understand why what you're building there couldn't be made one lane wider, and who could care?
Well, all I can say is, we looked at that. The gentleman sitting right next to you from the Planning Commission was on our subcommittee when we looked at it. We looked at it every which way but loose. And it could not be accomplished without putting in an overpass or putting in traffic signals which would stop the ready flow of traffic coming to the airport. And I guess the only way we'll ever solve it is when the project is done, I'm going to buy you two lunch, and we're going to go out there, and I'm going to show you why it physically will
Well, I
not
want
work.
lunch too.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Mr. Klatchko, because I know he had questions.
Okay, well then, I'll look forward to that lunch, and you can show me why this couldn't be done.
Me too. Mr. Matthews.
I don't like the road either, but I won't go into it. I would like you to address, I'm being somewhat, I don't need lunch. I could use a few less lunches. I'm somewhat sympathetic to local businesses being used. Do you want to comment on Mr. Amali's letter from Premier Security? I don't know if you're provided a copy.
Well, it has nothing to do with the master plan, but I'd be happy to
Well,
comment on it.
I realize it doesn't have anything to do with it, but it is a public forum and
Yes.
worthwhile.
I can't particularly speak to his concern because I haven't been specifically involved in it. We do have a old and dying security program system at our airport that was installed many years ago by Mosler, and they had an exclusive contract with us to maintain it for security purposes as long as they existed. And part of their camera work was done by, the name has now slipped me, the other company that he just spoke of. Mosler went bankrupt and went out of business. We do not have a contract with this other firm to maintain our security system. We're doing that by ourselves. We have a contract with them to maintain our cameras, and that contract continues. We are in the process right now of redesigning our access control system, the entire system. And in probably the next 7 or 8 months, we'll be putting out a bid for anybody who is in the business of security to provide us a system that's going to be valued in the neighborhood of $2.5 million. And that will be a free and open bid to anybody who can qualify to bid. And at that point, whoever gets it again will have a very long-term maintenance contract with us because of the high sensitivity of that system. We're not going to have 12 vendors in there messing with it.
Good. Well, that should be comforting for Mr. Amali, and I would just encourage that he be kept in the loop and given an opportunity to fairly compete and bid for it. Thank you.
Following up on that, does that apply to all contracts and procurement items that are part of airport projects in terms of open bidding and public announcements?
Absolutely, particularly the ones that are federally funded, which most of the work is that we do.
And does the airport operate any different than the rest of the city in its procedures in that regard?
No, as a matter of fact, probably a little bit more stringent because of the federal guidelines, and it's handled through the procurement department of the city of Palm Springs.
Any other questions? Mr. Caffrey?
I'll just comment on the roadway as well. I'm settled with it. I understand how much time it took to come up with it, but I would still put out there, if the FAA does say that it has to have a benefit to the airport in order to use other lands, and Mr. Smoot sees that there's a benefit to the airport for certain types of businesses, if there was access, then maybe it's worth looking into an alternative route to tie in there and submit it that way as something that would help the airport in putting different types of tenants in there in the future.
And just to follow up on my comments, I look at this as a long-term planning issue that impacts that whole area there. We are going to redo Mesquite to relieve the traffic around the DeMuth Park and try and force that traffic over to Ramon. Ramon is already a heavily impacted street. I see in a few years, as development continues around there and downtown, that it's going to become more and more impacted. And the whole idea of that extension was that it would be part of the Mid-Valley Parkway, and that you could use that as the final leg of the Mid-Valley Parkway, to get to the airport or to get from downtown to the Mid-Valley Parkway, take that out to where it now ends on Monterey, get on the freeway, and virtually avoid all of Ramon to the Monterey intersection of the freeway. That provided or would provide a very useful alternate traffic route for airport traffic, other traffic, and this plan that we have now frustrates that. So it just bothers me, and that somehow or other we couldn't accommodate that. If it's an impossibility, so be it. And Al, I'll look forward to our lunch where you'll show me that's the case, and we'll put the issue to rest.
Ms. Morantz?
Ready for a motion?
Well, I have a question for Senator. Alan, and you've commented on this in a study session, but for the sake of the public, I wish you'd comment now. What are the plans and the timetable as far as landscaping on the northwest corner of the airport facing Farrell, and both on the east side of Farrell and on the west side, the retention basin, and even on that the smaller portion of open space that's on the, I guess, the north side of Vista Chino?
Yes, we have a fully approved set of plans waiting to be put to bid to actually landscape that, and had 9/11 not occurred, it would have happened last year. It will be one of the first projects the airport does when it starts past its security improvements that have to go on. I would guess it's going to be at least another year and a half before we're going to be able to do it. But the plan is approved, ready to go, and it does landscape both sides as well as the Vista Chino frontage along there.
Any further questions, then? Thank you. Go ahead, why don't you make your motion then?
Okay, I would like to move order filing of the mitigated negative declaration and recommend approval of the airport master plan update.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morantz, second by Mr. Caffrey. Roll call vote, please, Michelle.
Ms. Conrad?
I guess yes.
Ms. Morantz?
Aye.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mr. Grinch?
Aye.
Mr. Schoenberger?
Aye.
Mr. Caffrey?
Aye.
Mr. Klatchko?
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Could I just make a comment? This is the second master plan update I've been able to participate in, and the airport team and the Kaufman Associates team really are a pleasure to work with. And I'd just like to make a comment. You don't see the audience full of people angry about the airport, and that's because of the hard work that was done back in 93, 94, 95, and then the noise insulation program thereafter. We're really getting positive comments from people that have participated, and it's pretty unusual to have an airport master plan update where Kaufman and Associates doesn't sit through a lengthy, contentious public hearing. And it's just a pleasure to not go through that and have resolved the majority of the issues, I think, with majority of the people that are concerned about the airport as a neighbor.
Very good.
Well, and I just want to make a comment because I kind of have had some contentious comments, but overall, I'm a very big supporter of the airport. I think we have a wonderful airport. I think it's the planning for that airport has been all in all very well done, and we have something I think the city can be very proud of. So despite my one issue, which is in the larger scheme of things is a relatively small issue, I also think that the planning for that for our airport has been outstanding.
Nothing further then? We'll move back to agenda item number 2.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The applicant's architect is a professor at Cal Poly Pomona, and they had a final today. She didn't think she could get here until 3 p.m.
All right. We haven't had a recess yet. Why don't we just take a brief recess and reconvene at 3 o'clock then? Thank you. in session. Next item is number 2, case 5.0948, application by Kritzman Desert Investments LLC for Plan Development District and tentative track map for the development of 32-story residential units on 2.13 acres located at the northeast corner of Indian Avenue and Francis Drive. Staff report, please.
Okay, the item before you is a continuance from the meeting on the 14th of this month. In response to commission concerns, the applicant has redesigned the project to eliminate access through the project from Sunnyview Drive to Indian, instead substituting circular access from Francis through the project. In order to do that, the site was redesigned with the pools moving from the southern perimeter to the northern perimeter to here. In addition, the buildings were moved a bit to the south in this direction. We now have 16 and 18-foot setbacks to portions of the buildings in this area. In addition, the excess parking accessed from Sunnyview was eliminated in these spots here. So there's the required parking with the carports. Additional parking was eliminated to provide a more smooth vehicular access here and still allow some parking on the street. In addition, the buildings were moved to the east to provide for additional clearance on the sides of the driveways here. And lastly, the courtyards which face to Indian Avenue were changed a little bit so you'd have a varying wall line which ranges from about 15 feet to about 18 feet in this area. So there's some movement in the walls. You wouldn't really pick it up here, but there will be some movement in the wall planes. And in terms of also these courtyards here, they're located with an approximate 6-foot setback from property line to these exterior courtyards on these 3 units. Lastly, the trash enclosures were moved to here and to here so that there would be close access through the units. That would summarize the revisions to the plan since you have seen it last. We'll answer any questions. The applicant is here, and the project architect is also here.
Mr. Evans?
Alex, did they request any additional wall height on the north property line for privacy around the pools?
We had discussed that. It's not depicted on the plan, but the applicant was asking for a 7-foot wall height, or the ability to go to 7 feet here along the northern perimeter in order to provide for augmented privacy and security around the pool areas. For one reason, the apartment complex to the north doesn't have swimming pools, so there was some concern that we'd have jumpers if we didn't raise the wall height up a little bit.
On this one.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions to staff before we open the public hearing? Yes, Ms. Brantz?
Alex, can you show me where the cars have access? How do they get to their garages?
Oh, yeah, this is a project with carports, no garages.
Well, carport, how do they get there?
Through the interior of the project, they have driveway access at 2 locations on Francis. So there's a circulation pattern in this sort, 2 ways, meeting the minimum width of 24 for one-sided driveway, parking with driveways with one-side parking. Then for these 5, they would essentially come right over the roll curb, which presently exists, and come right into here.
Oh, there's not a wall. Okay. I thought there was a wall there. I'm sorry.
All right, then we'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to address the commission on this matter, please come forward at this time. Did the applicant or the architect wish to make any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. I am Ana Escalante. I remember seeing you a couple weeks ago. We essentially addressed all the issues, and actually would really appreciate the fact that we were so nearsighted with the architecture in trying to make this modern project that we lost sight of some of the side issues. I think it was for benefit of the project. We have actually very good clearance. I still have some questions regarding the pool because it's on a north-facing area. However, we did a study with a computer program about solar orientation, and I think it works. And it's sheltered from the wind and so forth. In our opinion, there were some compromises that needed to take place. The units were reduced by 6 inches in their structural grid, which has an impact in the overall square footage. However, we gain a better relationship with the street, a better relationship with the neighborhood. That neighborhood is very significant, not only because it's a highly integrated neighborhood, but it also has the still houses and some really great examples of modern architecture. And we want to be part of it. So we're very pleased with the byproduct of your comments. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
There might be some.
You all write my name?
Please. Is there anybody else that wishes to address us? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Back to Commission. Ms. Caffrey?
Yes. This is a vast improvement on the circulation. Absolutely wonderful. The only thing is, when we were discussing, I thought that the location of the pools was going to stay down on the south end of the project, and the trash enclosures on the north end of the project made more sense to me. Having trash enclosures right next to your pool deck, with it may not be too wonderful when you're trying to enjoy the pool area. But if that's what they want, I'm okay with it. If that's what they're thinking is, the way they want to cite this. But I guess my question would be for the architect to. I guess as a planning commissioner, I would have been moved to give you some relief on the northern property line as far as setbacks to accommodate the pools on the southern side, because then you gain the views where you're not going to get the views, at least from the east pool to the mountains anymore.
Yes, we tried that approach. The only issue became regarding the fire exit. Once we started placing the buildings with their carports and so on, and we pushed them up to the north, really the gain wasn't there, and it just didn't work.
Okay.
We did our best.
Well, like I said,
just
if you're happy with the project, I'm happy with the circulation. If you think it goes together, I'm not going to try to design your project for you, and I'll just leave it up to the other commissioners to comment. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments? Mr. Matthews?
Mr. Chairman, I just checked with the Director of Planning. I did not attend the public hearing on the 14th, so I'll be abstaining because of that reason. I did not have an opportunity to review the tape of the meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
Chairman Cashlow, I'm in the same position. I did not attend the meeting for the public hearing.
Okay, so we'll have 2 abstentions, and I hate to do it since we're almost done. Can I ask you just to leave the podium just for a moment?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Conrad?
I also am very pleased. It's a much better circulation plan. I think it'll be a much more saleable product. And I was like-minded. I was willing to try and work to allow you to push those buildings as close to the north property line. But if you feel like you've exhausted that idea and it doesn't work as well for you, I feel some lament for those people using the pool, because they would probably be happier on the southern extent of the property line near Francis Drive, and I think we could have scooted it up. But if you don't think that's going to work, then
what we did is we did an actual solar study with a computer program that simulated different times of the year, and actually the pool is much better. You will get a lot less skin cancer, let's say, than that if you work strictly on the south. The pool becomes more usable year-round because you still get winter sun.
Well, with that, I think it's vastly improved, and I'm very pleased to see it. So I'll move approval of case 5.0948, Plan Development District 283.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Conrad, second by Mr. Caffrey. Any further comments? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conrad.
Aye.
Ms. Moravitz.
Aye.
Mr. Schoenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Caffrey.
Aye.
Mr. Klatchko.
Aye, motion carries 5-0 with 2 abstentions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just so you know, in your motions agenda, we're going to make some adjustments to the engineering conditions because of the revised site plan before it goes up to council. They don't change anything of substance. It's primarily technical.
Thank you for informing Ms. Flynn.
And if I can make one comment, if it's okay with the motion maker, on the trash enclosures, you might want to enclose them like 100%, if you can put it in your budget. Just a thought.
All right. Get our other 2 commissioners back in. Very good. Thanks, gentlemen. Is there anything further then from either staff or commission?
Mr. Chairman, I think we've completed our agenda today.
Very good then. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.